Hey, it's Bond. Let's talk about Mass Effect, Dragon Age, and BioWare in general. If you like those things, or if you just like gaming, reviews, news, speculation, please subscribe to the channel. If you like the video, please hit the like button. It really helps me out. And if you have any thoughts or you just want to say hello, comment down below once you finish the video. Let's just jump right into it. This is what we are talking about today. This came out and it is a release schedule and expected titles for the fiscal year 24 for EA. Just so you know, the fiscal year for EA goes through March of 2024. At least this current year does. What we see here are games that they expect to come out. You see the massive online games, which is EA FC, Sims 4, Apex Legends, and Madden. The little blue dots denote a full game release. The other ones are going to be like live service games. Below that, for EA Sports and Racing, we have PGA Tour, the F1 game, NHL, and Super Mega Baseball 4. And for the blockbusters and original IP, we have Jedi Survivor, Heroes, and Immortals of Avium. So what this probably means, and what you see on there, is that there is no Dragon Age Dreadwolf. That is obviously a bummer. We want to see that game come out, at least I do. I am very selfish and I've been very honest about how I want that game to come out, so I know they are working on Mass Effect, because the longer it takes for them to start Mass Effect, the more I start to worry, just a little. I don't think there's a reason to worry, but just the longer that draws out, the scarier it gets, or even just the fact of how long it's going to be until we see it. It's a mixed bag, though. I don't think this completely rules out a Dreadwolf before the end of this fiscal year. I think it makes it pretty unlikely. The big thing is if we look back here, is if you look up here and in the top right, this is their slate of announced titles. Now, the only saving grace I can think of is that maybe we can pretend like the fact that it is announced, Dreadwolf has a name, and so that should make it technically announced. But maybe because they've never denoted a general time frame of when it could come out, you know, if you really want to huff the copium, you can, and you can think that maybe that since maybe it doesn't qualify as an announced game. I am now, and I've been someone who was positive this game was coming out this year. I've lost hope of that. I'm assuming it's coming out in 2024, not only 2024, but I would say the summer at the earliest, and the winter is possible. So, you know, a year and a half from now. That would be surprising. That goes way beyond a lot of the estimates and stuff that we had even a year ago. I've been talking about this for a while. The big thing is the news about Mark Dara being brought in to consult on finishing up this game, as well as parts of the Mass Effect team being brought over to help them finish it up. I really believe that was them making a final push to get it out this year. It may mean that things are in a bad enough shape that we're looking at least the first quarter of their 2025 year, which would be between April and June of next year. That's very possible. That's a year away essentially. And that could make sense. You know, if you put together that they haven't given a time frame for the game yet, the issues that we've heard about, knowing this game's been in development hell for many years, it's been rebooted, basically its genre has been changed. It was supposed to be a multiplayer live service game, and then they converted it to a straight up single player game. You know, there's just a lot of reasons to believe that it probably isn't coming anytime really soon. Now, what does that mean for Mass Effect? Well, it may not be as bad as you think. Obviously, I've talked about how, you know, the sooner Dreadwolf comes out, the sooner they start full production on Mass Effect, and I still think that's true. The big thing is that, you know, I've seen people say that they think that Mass Effect is like 5-6 years away. That's probably not true. I suspect they are getting the bulk of the pre-production done on Mass Effect, And I think that the hope and potentially the directive from EA is that the Mass Effect game will not go through the development hell that Dreadwolf has. So where Dreadwolf has had this 5, 6, 7 year cycle, we're probably going to be looking at something much more typical for the next Mass Effect. Does that mean it's going to be fairly small in scale? Does that mean it's going to come out and be a mess? Does that mean it's going to come out and not be very good? I don't know. Those are all things that I guess are possibilities. I tend to be very optimistic and I won't assume those things. But the longer this Dreadwolf thing drags on, that doesn't, in my opinion, necessarily mean that, it's pushing, the Mass Effect game years and years down the pipe. I suspect that there is a goal date for the Mass Effect game to come out, and for better or worse, this pushing of Dreadwolf doesn't necessarily mean that Mass Effect is getting pushed way back. Now I've seen that there's some other creators who are doing this, like Dreadwolf and Mass Effect have been delayed. It's like you can't delay a game that's not announced for a date. That's clickbait. That's borderline dishonesty. So if that helps your algorithm or whatever, or your SEO or whatever, that's fine, I guess. But if you're someone who's watching these videos, I would just argue that anyone saying that is being very creative with the truth, and that it's not worth sensationalizing that much at this point. Now, we get release dates, those things don't happen, things like that. I think that's why they've been so safe. The last bit of hope I will give people is I will show you this. This is the 2023 Summer Game Fest partnership list. And I'll just throw out there that EA is on here. So if we look, right here in the top left, EA will be a part of Summer Game Fest. Now, we don't know if that's going to be, they're going to have games to play at the in-person show. Because we haven't heard about an EA Play yet, I suspect it's not happening. I suspect that may have even been something that was directly attached to E3. So if there's no E3, there's no EA Play. And so my guess is that due to a history of working with Jeff Keighley on the Summer Game Fest, it wouldn't surprise me at all if EA does any of their announcements at that show. We could see them at Sony. We could see them at Xbox as well. We've got no indication of that yet, but both of those things could happen. But the Summer Game Fest show is maybe the most likely place for anything from EA to show up. Now, the problem is that there's no guarantee that they're going to show anything from BioWare. They very well probably won't, especially if it's true that this game isn't coming out, that Dreadwolf isn't coming out till next year. The one last bit of info I will give is that Jeff Grubb, who seems like he's got some pretty good connections at EA and especially BioWare, because he was talking about Dreadwolf being out within about a year and a half towards the end of last year, which would still basically make him right if it does come out in the first half of next year. He's pretty much resigned that Dreadwolf is not coming during not only 2023, but probably not in that first quarter, or technically the last quarter of 2024, which would be the January through March period of 2024. He seems pretty resigned, and he claims he's heard from people saying that they wanted to shoot for the end of 2023. It's probably going to be beginning of 2024 or maybe even later. So, not to be a bummer, I don't think this is the end of the world. At the end of the day, as much as we want news and we want this stuff to move along, or if you're like me, you want to see Mass Effect start making progress, this isn't a bad thing. This is an important game to EA. It's an important game to BioWare. I don't think it's the make or break game that everyone claims it is with Dreadwolf. I think people should expect it to be kind of rough because of the development cycle it's gone through. This very much reminds me of all the hype around Starfield, that there's a lot of pundits who are trying to make it, that game seem like, oh, if Starfield isn't good, they're going to have to shut down Xbox. And that's simply not true. If Dreadwolf isn't good, they're not going to shut down BioWare. And now, the Mass Effect game may be really important if that happens, but we won't worry about that right now. That's not what we get into on this channel. So let me know what you think about all of this below. When do you think Dreadwolf is coming? Do you think this is going to hurt Mass Effect? Give me your thoughts down below. If you know anything, I am always happy to talk to a dev. There are a whole bunch of devs who have told me a whole bunch of stuff that no one has ever heard about. And so I am a trusted source, I promise, or a trusted person to give info to. And I can be very creative with how I distribute that. So just some food for thought. My DMs are open. That's all I have for this one. Thank you for watching. Subscribe if you want more of this. Like the video if you did. Comment down below. Like I said before, you can find me all over the internet as Bond Diesel. I stream on Twitch, on YouTube, all the fun things. And I have a weekly gaming podcast called the Echo Cast that you can check out right here on YouTube or on any podcast provider. That's all I have for this one. Until next time.